Anglers, shop specialist here in the shop, and today I'm going to be tying a bloodworm imitation for Stillwater fishing. Alright, hello, good morning. Rob Kolanda, Front Range Anglers, proud ambassador of Sage fly rods and reels. I'm going to tie a bloodworm imitation, and it's a very flexible pattern in Stillwater's. A lot of periods to fish this. Really, it's a great kind of searching fly a lot of times if there's not a a hatch that you know is going to generate the bite towards a particular fly. A lot of these critters around, so early spring, bloodworms are very, very prevalent in most of the fisheries that we have here in Colorado and Wyoming, and show up in samples anyway. It seems more kind of early spring before hatches get going, and then again late summer. And anybody that fishes deep for fish, middle of the summer, 15 to 25 feet deep, this can be an extremely important pattern for that as well. I'm going to tie it on a Hannock 310, which is a heavy wire scud hook. 2457 would be a good replacement on the barb side. 2488. But the Hannock 300, or in this case a 310, is really a fantastic hook when it comes to bigger fish. I'm going to use Vivus A-Dot in red, and I'll go ahead and start the fly behind the eye. And first thing I'm going to do is wrap all the way back, and if you drew a straight line underneath the bottom of that down eye and drew it back towards the bend, that'll let us know where we want to tie in our first part. So I'm gonna stop just shy of that, and the second part that I'm going to add in is Glow Bright thread in fluorescent red, and I'm going to take it and cut a single strand, and I'm going to double it over, and then I'm going to fold that over the tying thread, and I'm going to tie it in on top of the shank, but get to that stopping point even with the bottom of the down eye, and then I'm going to cut it probably about a half eye length, just to let it stick out the back a little bit there. At this point, advance the thread all the way in front of the hook shank. Second parts that I'm going to add in here is mid-size tubing in red, and a piece of red chromoflash. So I'm going to tie in the tubing first, and I'm going to tie it in on top of the shank. So I'm going to grab it on my side of the hook. Thread tension will generally carry it over just a little bit. I cut the end of that at a taper, so once I have it locked down, I can apply a little pressure and reduce the diameter if I need to, which I will. And the second thing that I'm going to tie in is a piece of chromoflash. These fibers are pretty long and they separate pretty easily, so I'm going to take one entire length and just double it over, and the length will come in handy as we're wrapping this forward. But first thing I need to do is just trap it with the midge tubing. Now what I want to do is pull on the midge tubing without putting any tension on the chromoflash, because it is not super strong stuff. So with the what I'll do is isolate the tubing, and I'll pull it, and then I'll grab both and kind of pull them together. keep that tension on the tubing until I get right at the end of the body, which would be the start of that fluorescent red tuft in the back. Now, what I really do not want to do is add unnecessary bulk. Ideally, I'd like to have a slight taper to the body, getting thicker as we go up towards what would be the thorax area. At this point, I'll take the chroma flash, give them a half twist. Another half twist, just to keep those fibers from spreading out on us. Go ahead and remove that chroma flash, and then what I like to add, particularly and this seems to be more important, fishing them in deeper water, fluorescent red can really outperform just a standard red. So what I'm going to do is come just with a little bit right on the back. The body. The thorax, we're going to cover that up anyway, but I'm going to put just a little bit over the back here. Next thing I'll do is I'll apply tension to the midge tubing again, and what we'd like to do is have just a gentle taper as we move forward with this tubing. So I'm going to keep tension on it as I make the first few wraps. As I start to move farther up, I'm going to release that tension. Segmentations will become a little more pronounced, a little bit bigger in diameter. Get that out to the thorax. Do now is just cut off what's left on the tubing. Make sure that you have that tubing anchored. When you apply tension to it, it's going to create some memory with the material. So if it's not tied in well, it will spring back and unwind. And if you've already cut it, the piece will probably be too short to work with. So at this point, we're going to take. Now, one thing important to mention is with these bloodworms, we're kind of tying them with the shape and idea that it's going to be more of an annelid or a true worm, and not really have a defined thorax or wing buds or other things that we'd commonly add to a pupa imitation. And so I just want to make sure that my body here comes into a gentle taper's okay. And what I'm going to do is double over this globe right, put it up on top of the shank. I'm going to come forward with it, just a couple of wraps. Go ahead and wrap underneath. And one of it's fanned out just a little bit. You can actually take them and pull them a little bit. So we have that complete. I will tie it with the chroma flash as a flashback over the top, separate the gills, but I just wanted to go with the regular. This one. I'm going to put on, this is Solarez, the thin formula. And I don't want to add anything to the footprint of this fly. I want it to stay, you know, as thin as I've tied it. I don't want it to be thicker necessarily. But I'm just going to make sure that it's encapsulated